Hello, welcome everybody. Okay, let's see who's coming in today. I know it takes sometimes people to come in and see what everybody's up to. Wow, lots to talk about today. Man. I don't know if you guys follow things on Twitter or you follow, the news. Some people do, some people don't. I do. I like to sort of see what's going on. Um, I have to, like him, love him or hate him. Elon Musk is really, really jabbing it in. For people who bitch and complain about being a billionaire, first of all, you got to have some tenacity to be a billionaire. I mean, we have the billionaires that are in the news, but there's many different billionaires. I mean, there's you go to Indonesia, India, parts of Africa. There's billionaires, and these are many of them are self-made. Now, Elon Musk is a self-made billionaire. He was part of not PayPal. I think it was Square that he was a part of, and then he sold off, and then he started off on his own adventures. Um, he's a very innovative person. He's very out there. He tells you what, his mind is going a million hours an hour. Now, there's many theories of why he's doing what he's doing, whatever. But what he tweeted yesterday is really putting it to the establishment. His tweets yesterday were quite um I find that they're getting people to think than more so than what they have before. And a lot of times people don't like what people, what he's saying. Let's see. Hold on. Tweets and replies. So, I mean, he was on the red carpet yesterday. He took his mother and he was quite hilarious actually. But he also tweeted out about um the mainstream media hiding things about, if I can find it. I have so many tweets here. Mainstream media. Oh my goodness gracious! I had it, and now it's gone. Um, Mainstream media. Oh, shoot, hate that when that happens because I want it to quote him. But he was talking about the pedophiles. Anyways, and he was my brain is just, it's still foggy. Still not uh up to par in what I want to say. Anyways, so his tweets were really about um the trial of Jelaine Gisrel, or whatever her name is, and how when it was starting to trend that it's, why did they take it down? Why are they hiding, like MSNBC went after him, and he tweeted right back at them, calling them out on a lot of things that they hid that, is coming out. The far left hates everyone, and including themselves, as he says. But it's where he actually started to, um coming out about many other people and stating about, okay, you guys hid this, you hid this. And even about different trials and stuff that have been hidden. And so he's coming out and he's stating things that um many don't want him to talk about, many don't want him to say anything. And I think that's really a part of what is happening, is like saying, this is, here's the truth. Why aren't you, why aren't you talking about it? And the one thing about, with him doing that, I mean, it's almost where, he says that maybe I'm signing my own suicide note. And he tweeted that out too, because he's calling out a lot of the elites. He's calling out, people that nobody else is calling out, or they're afraid to call out. And I find that quite interesting, you know, um, with everything, because um as he's calling people out, as he's doing this is where people are going to get angry, they're going to get mad at him, they're going to get um target him, try to slam him, try to take him down. And that's because he's coming out with a lot of truths. Now, he doesn't claim to be you know um a Republican or a Democrat. He actually claims to be a socialist. And he even, because the Epstein, that's what it is, the Epstein scandal, the epic tweet storm. So he calls them out. He's calling them out. And I find, for whatever reason, like him or hate him, I think that is a good thing. I think that is a really positive thing for him to doing. The next thing is in the States is that there was a leak, which has never ever happened before. This leak about the Supreme Court has voted to overturn abortion rights and drafts an opinion um, piece. And this has never, a leak like this has never happened before. This is huge because it's overthrowing it's overthrowing the presidents that has been there since 1973. And when it comes to abortion rights, which is taking the rights away from the government and giving it to each individual state, which is going to be very interesting, but can also cause a lot of conflict. And I am a pro-choice person. I do believe that within reason there are times for a woman to have abortion, and there's a time limit on that, right? I don't, if you're like 8 months pregnant and you decide to terminate, I don't think that is the time to terminate your pregnancy, or give birth to the child and leave the baby to die on the table after you just gave birth to a live person, right? To me, that's murder. But there are, in early parts of the pregnancy, I believe women should have that right to terminate the pregnancy. But this is really overthrowing that right from a federal, with federally, and giving it to the states. So that I find very interesting, and how that is going to run its course in the states. And I think that can even cause, when it comes to this issue, because it's very deep embedded morally with many people and their value system, this is really going to bring up a lot of division and conflict of of abortion. So I'm bringing this up because this is all having to do with people and changes, and um the different energies that are coming up, that are getting people to think in different ways, in new ways, really looking at what is your spiritual alignment, what is that moral part. As I teach, when I teach the fairy shamanism class, it is moral, it comes into all that we do. It's got to be morally right. And the thing is that if you're doing anything, when you're casting a spell, or you're doing or working with anyone, you're doing it on the highest level. You're doing it with love and light. You're not doing it just to earn a buck or just because, oh, it's just too hard. You are looking at that alignment of what is the highest good. Being spiritually aligned and spiritually in working with your spiritual self, it's not an easy feat. It's so easy not to do what you know is right for yourself. It's so easy to go down, oh, that's so much easier. I'm going to go back to the abortion thing because years ago, I did do a brief stint of coaching or mentoring. I was young at the time, and it was through the Catholic Diocese. And it was mentoring and working with young women who actually have had abortions, the after effect of what that causes on them mentally. And that's the one part that isn't brought up. The mental part that a lot of women do go through after having an abortion. The other issue also is the effects it does on the body, especially if women have had multiple abortions, on how that affects them in carrying a child to term and how it affects the womb and your hormones and the whole bit. Your body is, as a woman, your body is made to carry a child, for women. You have a womb, you have breasts. These are all part of being a woman. You are able to carry a child, give life to a new person. That is part of a role, or part of the original role of a woman was to give birth, was to carry children. Now, when this is altered or tampered with, it can cause a lot of other issues, which are psychological, because of the hormones and the reactions with the hormones. So, this is a part that I don't think is discussed very often, when young women are going in to make a decision, and especially a decision of termination, of understanding, are you really mentally prepared for this? Are you, the whole bit. And I think that that has to come into it as well. Anyways, um that's sort of my opinion on it. My mother was very strong on this, even though she was a very strong Catholic. But my mother was also was born in 1924, and she saw a lot of the world that many people wouldn't have seen at that time. She was raised in the ghettos of Detroit. Her mother was her mother was a an open woman of the time. My mother had, to my knowledge, from her mom, she had three brothers, and she was the only girl. She had a younger brother and two older brothers. I think that's what it was. So, and not the last two were from the same dad. Anyways, but my mother also noticed that her mother was a nursed for a while, and her grandmother was a midwife. And so my mother saw a part where women in the 30s and in the 20s, mainly in the 30s and going into World War II, didn't have that right. Many women were having babies and having to carry them to term, or they were doing home abortions, which was very detrimental and could be life threatening for them. Um, on that level. And I think that really got my mother to thinking, because when the other part is, like, she also saw that her grandmother would go after the men who were getting these women pregnant, like the husbands, to make sure that they paid her for the delivery. Or she would go like, okay, this is your sixth child, what are you going to do? Like, how are you providing for these children? And that's the other part that my mother saw, is that it's great to carry a child to term and have the baby and everything else. But my mother also said that all of these people that fight for the right of the child, where are they when the child needs help? Like, where are they to help that mother when the baby's crying at 3 in the morning and she isn't prepared and she doesn't have anybody else around her? And that's where my mother came in and was really for women's rights, like really for that, of looking at the right of a woman to say, okay, if you need to terminate at the beginning of the pregnancy because you're not ill equipped at this time, mentally, financially, in many ways, to care for this child. That's where my mother came in, and she really instilled this in her daughters, in understanding that, and having and taking responsibility for your body, taking that responsibility for, if you're going to have sex, make sure you are on the pill, or you are being protected. Don't just be frivolous about it, because there's a responsibility there. And that's the other part that my mother really instilled. My father didn't like that part. He didn't interfere very much when she was but my mother had an understanding that, yeah, I mean, children are born out of wedlock. Yes, children are born to single moms, and it shouldn't be frowned upon or be shamed upon, but there should be a support there for them, in an understanding, because many times when this happens, a lot of these women aren't mentally prepared, let alone financially prepared, for the onset of caring for another human being. Let alone if you're in a marriage. We all know, some of us know that, even if you're in a good relationship and having a child, yeah, there's you're not always mentally prepared for everything that's coming your way. So this is where I think, when we step into this energy, is looking at our spiritual alignment, and where, as a society, we really have to look at how to take care of one another in many ways, how to take care of our children, because, as they say, the children are our future. Children are very important, in the world, and we need to have the next generation and the generation after that, in order to keep the human species alive, to keep, this cycle of our lives, our world, to continue on. And this is where I find that we are at a sort of a crossing point in the world, where really taking a look at what is important to you in your life. What is spiritually important to you? What is morally important? And what are your values with all of this? Because it is Taurus. Taurus is about your values, your values. When we go across, it's Scorpio, it's other people's values, other people's money, right? This is about your money, your value, your ideas. Scorpio is about other people's ideas, other people's values. All right? That's, that it's opposite. You start with yours, and how are you incorporating it with the world around you? How are you taking what you are doing and incorporating that into what you do on a day-to-day basis? And that's where, the energies are. It's taking where you are and bringing them into the world around you. And that's, I think, where we have to start to really take a deep dive and look at, where do you morally stand, in helping one another, in creating community for one another, because I believe everybody has a right to pick and choose and do what they truly desire and believe the way that they need to believe, without infringing, hurt and harm and pain onto another person. That I don't agree with. But I really believe that we need to come together in a way to bring in more harmony and peace with one another, and help. each other in some way without judgment. Without judgment. That judgment part is a huge one. And that's a hard one for us because we're constantly judging. We're judgmental people. We judge everything. We judge ourselves. We judge our hair, the way we look. We judge, how that person, is wearing bright, vibrant green shorts or something. There's a judgment there. But it's understanding how you are implementing your judgment. How are you taking your judgment? And that's where I feel we have to step into our spiritual alignment, is looking at how are you taking your judgment and implementing it upon not only your life, your values, your views, but how are you taking that out into the world? Are you taking it out into the world with love and light? Or are you taking it out in the world and being condemning and an asshole? you know? And that's where we are. I feel like that's with a lot of this beautiful energy that's coming in, it's getting us to look at our old ideas, our old viewpoints, and having us to look at things, look at the world with fresh eyes and new ways. And that's what that Uranus energy is coming in, with new eyes and new ideas. So I'd love to hear your opinion on this. I'd love to hear your opinion on how you feel about certain circumstances in the world today. Right down to freedom of choice. Do you believe it or not when it comes to pro-choice or not? Do you have, even about, because I'm talk every day. I give you my opinion every day, give you my spiritual insight, right down to what's happening in the war right now. I have a lot of feeling that Democrats and liberals want a war. To me, they're trying to force a war upon us that we don't want. We don't need to go into a war. I really honestly don't. There's so many other things that we need to work on within our community and start to look at what, you know, needs to be done when the shizzy hits the fan for food costs, and how are we going to help those who can't afford to buy the food. Now there's going to be food. We live in a Western world. There is going to be food, but some people may not be able to afford the food, or they're not going to be that, you're not going to be able to get the iced tea that you like. But this is where it comes in. It's like, where do we come in to begin to help one another in order to make sure that everybody has food? Everybody's able to, not everybody can grow a garden. Not everybody can, has that extra $20 to buy stuff. So this is where I feel like, in the States, there is, and I think there is here in Canada, I haven't really seen, where they have free pantries, and people go and stock these pantries up, and you could go in and you could go shopping for free. So if you need something, so you're low on milk, you're low on baby formula, you're low on diapers, you could go in there and you can go get the baby formula, you can go get the diapers. And if you have extra of something, then you could go and replenish that into the pantry. I think those ideas are absolutely fabulous. And having free pantries, free places, a place where people can go and do food exchanges, right? And start to create that kind of community. So those are kind of little ideas off the top of my head. They have those libraries that people set up in their front yard where people could, take a book or leave a book and stuff like that. Those little libraries, they're cute little um libraries in front of people's houses. I think it would be great, maybe to start us, starting to think of having, here now I got a freezer in my front yard. If there's something in the freezer you see that you like, please take for free. Um, but I know a lot of people get afraid. Oh my God, what if somebody gets poisoning and stuff like that? Well, have a waiver and they could sign the fucking waiver. That's usually my last thought with people. It's like, I'm trying to give you something free, but you're afraid anyways. So this is where I think, you know, eventually we might be seeing things like that so that we can help our neighbor out. So, anyways, I'm gonna leave it on that note and that thought of how can we start to help one another in a way that, you know what, sometimes you might have a little extra of something and you need to help somebody else. And it's not necessarily with the food banks. Food bank is different. Food bank, they get a lot of uh there's a lot of corporations that help the food bank, but not all the time somebody can go to the food bank, or not all the time, you know, I had one of my clients who does go to the food bank, and she says, I go to the food bank, so I have food. Now I can buy other things that I need instead of getting the food. Because she goes, for her to buy detergent, she goes, I don't usually get detergent to clean my clothes from the food bank. So she gets the food from the food bank, which helps to save her money so she could buy detergent to clean her clothes. She said sometimes it's for medicine so that she can have medicine in her house. Or she goes, I get food from the food bank because I have a big bill to pay. So whether it's her phone bill or her utility bill or her cable bill, you know, she can't do both. And that's where a lot of people are going to come into. It's like, do I eat or do I pay this bill? Like, I want to keep my lights on. So if I don't have lights, then, well, I can't cook. So I guess I better pay my lights, right? So people are going to be, juggling with things like that. And this is where, this is again, that community, that mindset of coming together to help one another is very important. And pushing for an agenda that only makes the elite richer, to me, is bullshit. You know, watching all of those, for the gala, and I was watching all these, just briefly, it came up on my Twitter and a little bit on Instagram and stuff. All these beautiful gowns and all these beautiful um outfits and headpieces, and it's like wonderful, it's beautiful, that, but you could see it was very elitist, and not to say anything. I mean, I believe some, many of those they've worked very hard to get where they are. Yes. But there's just something there that, it's kind of, what is the priority? It's like when Oprah Winfrey did a big thing in Chicago for her money. What did she do with her money? She hired a bunch of actors to go dancing in the streets. It's like, okay, like, if to me, when I look at having extra money, to me, extra money means I'm helping somebody else in need, that really needs it. And uh try not to be frivolous. And I think that's partially where the energy is like, don't be frivolous with who you are, don't be frivolous with what you have, and honor the truth of who you are, and stand in your light and your love, and be that beautiful light. Anyways, I'm going to leave you on that note. You guys have a wonderful day. May the Lord and Lady watch over and bless you in all that you say and all that you be and all that you do. Have a blessed one, everybody. And thank you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to the crazy babbles of Mama G. Blessed be everybody. Bye-bye.